G'day guys, MAT5 here, and today I will be checking out the latest free games featured in this month's PlayStation Plus offer. To be clear, these games are available for free to all PlayStation Plus members during the month of April 2015, so you have to get in quick. And also, these are not reviews or even mini reviews, just a quick impression of each game to let you know which ones you should definitely check out and which games aren't really worth your time. So without further delay, let's move on to the first PlayStation 4 title, Never Alone. Set in Alaska, you play as a young girl named Nuna, and during a great blizzard she decides to seek the source of it, and ventures away from her village on her own until she eventually meets an Arctic fox that joins her on her journey. This is a co-op platformer that requires both Nuna and the fox in order to progress through the game. The freezing environments is a great backdrop for the game, and the blizzard effects look stunning, as you can tell when a rush of wind is about to occur as the snow suspends for a second in the air. The game centers around Alaskan indigenous folklore and actually contains some of these fantasy-like events such as visions of animals that constantly aid you on your journey, and over the course of the game you can view these documentary-styled videos that give you an insight on the Alaskan people. The game does contain co-op, and I recommend that you play it with a friend because playing it on your own isn't that much fun. When playing on your own, the camera still requires both of the characters to be on screen at the same time, but the friendly AI is so bad and has trouble following you, and can even get themselves killed, so you are constantly switching between them. And so far I haven't experienced much in terms of gameplay, besides some basic platforming, but then again it could change over the course of the game. I would also like to see more interaction between Nuna and the fox, because so far I don't feel emotionally connected to either of them, and have only seen them interact with each other once during my entire impression. My overall impression of Never Alone are mixed so far. Nothing special about the gameplay or characters, and seems to mostly focus on giving you a lesson on Alaskan people, but I came here to play a game, right? So proceed with caution on this one. Up next, another PS4 title, Tower of Guns. A first-person shooter that sees you thrown into randomly generated levels packed with a huge variety of dangerous robots and turrets, with old school gameplay and levels filled with secrets for you to discover and final bosses to vanquish. This game is all about the fast-paced action, with hundreds of projectiles coming at you at once, so you need to have a good aim and great reflexes if you want to survive. I love the old school design, with secrets to be discovered and even can be hidden behind clipped walls. There is always new enemies or combinations of enemies for you to fight every time, and the game is somewhat addicting with its permadeath design. As soon as you die, you are sent right back to the start of the tower with newly created levels for you to explore and conquer. This permadeath design can become frustrating though, because even though the levels are randomly generated each time, the gameplay becomes quite repetitive. I also dislike that you have to do certain things to unlock new weapons and abilities, so it takes a lot of grinding to discover new goodies for you to use. I do like that you collect coins that can be used to buy upgrades you discover throughout the level, which range from anything to additional jumps to extra health. In the end, Tower of Guns is an addictive yet repetitive first-person shooter that gives you a worthy challenge to take on, but can be frustrating if you can't conquer it. Dark Souls vibe, anyone? But still, it is an enjoyable game that is great for killing some time or for challenge-hungry players, so give it a go and see if you can conquer the tower. Up next, the last PS4 title on this list, Ruse Awakening. Dawn, Day, Dusk, and Night are four unique worlds that contain different environments and creatures. Dawn's champion Aru is tasked with venturing through each world to finally reach Night and restore balance between the worlds. An interesting concept being presented in a simple yet charming 2D style. You must complete a number of short levels within the four worlds, with platforming being the majority of the gameplay. Aru can dash and slide, but his most unique ability is being able to send out an orb that you can instantly teleport to. It can be used to get through narrow spaces, avoid hazards, and even slay enemies, which so far is the majority of the gameplay. The game relies heavily on this mechanic to solve almost every problem, and becomes less interesting and unique as the game goes on. The game does feature flexible 360-degree controls, but can often be inaccurate and frustrating to use, that usually ends up in a quick death. Also, as you progress progress through the game, a narrator speaks of Aru's progress, but I found her voice to be annoying and uninteresting. So overall, Aru's Awakening has the charm and an interesting mechanic, but so far that's it. One-trick ponies usually only work for so long, and unfortunately this one didn't keep me interested in progressing through the game, so I'd give this game a miss. Next up for the PlayStation 3 is Dishonored, a first-person stealth action game that focuses on non-linear gameplay, a dark, diseased world with much to explore and discover. You play as Corvo, who at the start of the game is framed by unknown assassins for the murder of an empress he is sworn to protect. They also manage to kidnap the empress's daughter in the process, but of course Corvo escapes prison and seeks redemption. He is then gifted with the mark that allows him to use supernatural powers, and you can upgrade them however you want. Dishonored takes on a textile visual style that is subtle and used to great effect, and brings to life a dark and depressing world full of death and rebellion. The way you play Dishonored is up to the player, with you being able to stealth it and use your abilities to get around the environment, or resort to violence, unleashing destructive powers to vanquish your enemies. But be wary, because the game focuses on your actions, and the end of the game changes depending on how chaotic and violent you are throughout the game. I love how big the levels are, with much to be explored and many secrets to be discovered throughout your journey that is extremely rewarding. Personally, I love stealthing it, warping all over the place to avoid enemy patrols, and silently taking out enemies from the dark. The way you play is up to you. Though when I do get stuck in a combat situation, I find the combat controls to be a bit clumsy, but still, the game as a whole is a lot of great fun. I loved Dishonored back in 2012, and think everyone should give it a go, especially since I hear the latest Thief game doesn't have much going for it. Next up for the PS Vita is Killzone Mercenary. Killzone has landed on the PS Vita and retains its intense first-person action from its console counterpart. The ongoing war between the ISA and the Helghast is a bloodshed, with the ISA starting to lose the fight and have to resort to hiring mercenaries to help. That's where you come in. You play as Aaron Danner, a mercenary that is part of a group that is constantly tasked by the ISA to complete certain missions for cash. This has got to be one of the best looking Vita games, with a surprising amount of detail in most fields that surpass the first game easily. Gameplay for the most part is the same as in previous games in the series, and that's impressive. To successfully transition a first-person shooter to a handheld console so well, if you have played a Killzone title before, you will feel right at home here. An addition to Mercenary is the money system. Pretty much everything you do rewards you with cash that you can spend on new weapons and equipment, and this also carries over to the 8-player online multiplayer, which I think is one of the best online experiences you can have on the Vita. The only downside so far is that I feel the Vita's analog sticks aren't exactly accurate and don't feel anywhere near as comfortable as a DualShock controller. Nevertheless, this is an achievement, and I will continue Killzone Mercenary to the very end, and maybe even have some games of online multiplayer. So if you have a Vita, then you must own Killzone Mercenary. And now to the final game on the list, Monster Bag. Nia has mistakenly left her monster bag at home. Named simply V, you must catch up to Nia while avoiding other humans and solving many puzzles. The controls are really simple and easy. You just press left and right to attach yourself to different humans, but to make sure not to be spotted while doing so. Each level contains different and progressively humorous situations that you must help resolve in order to progress through the game, which usually requires you to interact with the environment. I love the style of this game. The characters and situations are equally hilarious, even parroting TV shows such as Dragon Ball Z. I love the challenge too, as usually the resolution is absurd but very entertaining, and surprisingly violent, but uses purple blood to keep these actions less impactful. The only problems I found with the game is that there is no hint system, so often you just keep spamming the touchscreen until you realize something that you can interact with, and besides catching up to Nia, there is no real story. Monster Bag is an original idea that results in a hilarious journey for a bag to catch up to its owner, and I would very happily go back for some more laughs. And that's my wrap up for all of the free games included in this month's PlayStation Plus offer. Be sure to snag them up before it's too late, and I'll see you guys next month. Thanks everyone for watching, and don't forget forget to check out these other awesome videos, and for the latest AAA and indie reviews or impressions, I hope to see you come back to M8T5 Reviews.